How's it hanging, toy fans? This is Brock Lauer with another episode of Talking Toys, but unfortunately my co-host Kyle Walters isn't here today. He's been pretty busy lately, but I have two new co-hosts for this special episode, two colleagues of mine who are in the film industry. We've worked on multiple film projects, a lot of creative projects, writing, movies, script writing, television. My two guests are Gerald Zellers.
Hello.
And Matthew Barnhart.
Hey, how's it going, everyone?
Before I get to them real quick, I'm going to go through some updates in the toy industry, and then I'm going to... Our topic for today is Disney, Warner Brothers, Marvel, Star Wars, the companies and film, what's ahead in the future. I have these guys on because they know what they're talking about. They know the industry. They not only consume the content, but they also make their own content. So if you're questioning their credibility, I could vouch for these guys. I've worked with them on multiple creative projects. One of our projects was at Akron Avengers. That's its own channel. You can go check that out now. You can like and subscribe if you want. But the show ended a while ago. Definitely worked 2 seasons with those guys on that great show, and definitely won some awards within the college. It was a college show at the University of Akron. But to shift gears real quick, just get the toy portion out of the way. Some new updates. Asmus has released a new Boromir figure complete with sword, cape, horn, shield. Very realistic. Really awesome looking. I mean, I know you guys aren't that much into toys. This is kind of like what it looks like.
No, I'm here for it.
Yeah.
McFarlane released a Blue Beetle Booster Gold toy a few months back that I got my eye on.
Really?
I'm excited as well.
Yeah, like McFarlane does pretty decent work with likeness and everything like that. Lego's also releasing new house sets with classrooms, and also a room of requirement set with Harry, Hermione, Malfoy, and his gang, and also the second task from the 4th movie with minifigures like Harry, Crumb, Hermione, Merpeople, and Ron.
No, it's really interesting. It's like Harry Potter is going through like a mini Renaissance revival because it's very, very popular, no doubt. But right now, like a whole bunch of stuff is like popping off with it. Like right now, one of the things that's really big in the gaming community, there's a new Harry Potter game. I think it's called Hogwarts Legacy. I've heard about it. There's a little bit of controversy there, like everything now. There's got to be a little bit of controversy for sales, but man, it's very popular. I know they have like a $300 special set that's like completely sold out, like thousands of units.
Insane how fast that sold. But are you willing to pay, what is it, $70, $90 for a game?
Oh, that's another topic.
We'll get into that later.
Yeah, I mean, the new Hogwarts, I'm not huge into gaming, but I do like gaming, and that's one of the games I would buy.
Visually stunning. The trailer for it, they made it look very fun. You want to be a wizard, Harry?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how big you guys in toys, because that's what this podcast is. But that's kind of like everybody's like little, like, whether it was the fad portion of our childhood, or just collecting Legos, or it's collecting action figures, and it's just like all this like stuff. I still collect shit, and I can show you guys later.
And so many good buys.
I mean, even like right behind you, those are all mine. Those are all Lord of the Rings Lego sets.
So when did these sets come out?
Actually, they're probably almost 10 years old, because that was the first time they came out.
That's awesome.
They did rebuy the license to Lord of the Rings. That tower you see, the Isengard Tower, that was exclusive only at Lego stores. Back then, this is how much inflation's different now. That would have been $350 set. Ooh. Today that would probably be north of around 500 or 400. So
Lego, like, oh man, that's one of those companies that, like, I don't know how, and they get licensing off of everything. They do like the Fortnite of stuff, and Legos can just license pretty much anything. And like, there's so many different. I'm just looking over there, and I'm seeing like 5 different sets for what is Lord of the Rings, and then what also looks like another mech suit. Like, it's insane the detail that is in here. If you look at everything too, now that I'm looking at it, oh my god, the structures are amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bitch to clean, but that's the cost of collecting and whatnot. So yeah, I mean, that's me, and I'll show you my room. I've been collecting for 12 years. That's just me, and I think around 12 comic books, 12 toys forever. So like, different things I've bought and sold, and everything like that. So another thing, that came out recently is the Hot Toys Anakin and Padme figure.
Oh man.
Pretty much the accessories. Anakin with both his lightsabers, his robotic hand, his Padme with her gun, because that's pretty much all she would come with. But like the detail on some of these things, like I'm showing you guys right here, is the Hot Toys, what you call the Cadillac of action figures.
That's amazing. Yeah, the way that the stunning detail, and I'm hoping that the sabers have that. Oh wow,
That's wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It does seem like it has like a reflective glow. That's insane.
Yeah, I believe the lightsabers light up, and
Yeah, they look super good.
and this is what you get with the whole package. So those are the accessories and stuff like that you get with everything.
God damn, look at it this way. Just tell Seth Green about this stuff so we can start making funnier robots. Look at it this way. That is true to form. Like, you feels like he just got pulled out of a movie scene right there.
For sure.
Like photorealistic, very, very much so. That's crazy.
Yeah, and that's the pair of them right there. And
Wow.
I could tell you guys, they get more realistic than that.
No
That's
kidding.
crazy.
That's insane.
There's a company called InArt. They're very similar figures like this.
Sure.
They're more realistic, and you can move the eyes, and they have that glint and stuff like that. It is amazing how far technology has reached with toys. Yeah, everyone talks about phones. The technology in toys has gotten crazy realistic. I'm not even just talking about those types of figures. I'm talking about even the little Hasbro ones.
Yeah.
They have like photoreal tech now. Hasbro has a thing where you could just take your face, take a picture. It costs like a pretty penny, and then you can put your face. Like you send your photo of your face on the app of Hasbro. You could put your head on Iron Man's body, Spider-Man's body, or Anakin's or Darth Vader's or something like that. It's a thing like that. So I mean, they're doing cool things like that, and it's crazy. It costs more to do fun stuff like that now, but it's pretty darn cutting edge. Also, Hot Toys has released a new Spider-Man Tom Holland figure, where he's at the very end of No Way Home in that new suit, that blue, and that Christmas scene,
Oh, I like that. So that is, we'll get into that later, but I can't wait for retcon Spider-Man moving forward.
Yeah. So that figure's coming out with your usual, it has base Tom Holland head sculpt. It also comes with multiple web accessories and stuff like that.
The blue in that suit versus how the other suit used to look, I think I like that suit better for the Spider-Man character.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. And Marvel Legends released a couple new X-Men figures. That's always one of the most popular lines. They were releasing Marvel's Chamber, Emma Frost, Starjammer, Corsair.
What's the going rate of some of these? These are highly,
So the past 2-3 figures I just showed you is around $300, $200 to $300. Yeah, actually, that's not terrible because the prices have maintained that.
Wow, no doubt.
They haven't gone super up. If you get a Hulkbuster armor, giant Iron Man, that's gonna cost you.
Yeah.
And they have LED lights and stuff like that. I'll show you more because I have 3. I've only bought 3 of my life. Well, one was a gift and two I've bought. So they're cutting edge figures. Though those I do very rarely. They're only if I really like it or if it's a no-brainer buy. I have to really like the character or the actor. These figures, these Marvel Legends ones, they cost around $20, $25. Some of the more rare ones cost, $30, around that.
Awesome.
So these are the ones you could find at Target, Walmart, Amazon. They're cheaper. They're your basic figures. Cool. You get your basic accessories. They do movie versions and comic book versions. Also, they've released Sabretooth, Cyclops, Emma Frost, and it's with that wave you could build him. So if you get all the figures in the wave, you build that Chad character.
Oh, that's awesome!
It's from X-Men. So, you'll see. You're gonna. I'll show you guys my room. You'll kind of it's almost sensory overload because whenever I show people my collection, they're like, well, it almost gets contagious because my one friend who I do the show with, he kind of got into it just by coming to my room. I'm like, he kind of fell in love with toy collecting that way. I mean, I've also bought, but I've also sold. So some things I'm always constantly buying and selling, trying to be more particular with certain things. It can be an addiction. It could be unhealthy sometimes. But I mean, I've never gotten to the point where it's gotten that bad. My friend a whole nother story. He does import stuff from Japan, stuff like that. He's really big into anime, Dragon Ball. So, and also Marvel Legends releasing Yandu, Marvel's Hyperion, Doctor Spectrum, and Franklin Richards and Valeria Richards, I guess.
Oh, Valerie Richards?
Yeah.
Yeah, the daughter of Reed and Sue? Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Also, Hot Toys, another one of those high-end figures, coming out with Mark 1 Iron Man from the movie with Tony Stark, head sculpt. To give you guys another look, that's what it looks like.
Oh, see, that's cool. In Mark 1, it just never would have worked. The suit's too big. I'm joking.
Well, I mean, it's a cool figure. I mean, you're right. I mean,
good.
it's movie. That's like movie quality like you get, and like his arc reactor lights up. It's a LED light.
Oh wow.
So you do get pretty cool stuff like that. And also, Pop Funko released Sandman and Electro from the No Way Home movie. That's coming out soon for you Pop fans. G.I. Joe released a bunch of figures for their 6-inch line. Snow Job, Steel Corpse, 2-pack, Televiper, and Scraperion.
Yo, Joe.
You a big G.I. Joe fan?
I have been for a long time.
Yeah.
In the past, I used to watch the show way back in the day.
Yeah, I didn't get there. Was that an 80s show?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Yeah. And then, they brought it back on Boomerang for a long time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The Dark Knight, McFarlane figures, Two-Face, Joker, Bane, Batman, and Scarecrow coming to stores, your local Walmarts, GameStops, and Target. They're not exclusives, but these actually does a pretty damn good job with these figures because he's doing like that. So that's a 6-inch figure.
Oh wow, nice.
So,
6 inches is pretty tall.
Yeah. So like that's like these are the McFarlane ones you kind of like.
That's what I'm saying. Before, the detail on these are really good. Can you go down to the next one?
Yeah, that's Bane.
Yeah,
that looks nice.
That's what I was saying. Like, yeah, the detailing on the vest is great.
And you got Two-Face.
Yeah, you know what I want them to do? To go get the Batman Forever, George Clooney.
Oh, I'm here for it.
Those detailed nipples on.
Yeah, so you get the whole all the villains and pretty much Batman as far as right now. Marvel Legends releasing their Ant-Man and the Wasp line with. So this is an interesting because this is 6-inch, like I've discussed before. This is kind of a mix of comic book and movie figures.
Mm-hmm.
So you're getting Crossfire, Egghead, Future Ant-Man, Ultron, Marvel's Wasp, Ant-Man from the movie, Casey, I think she's the Build-A-Figure, and Kang the Conqueror from the movie. So that's Kang the Conqueror from the movie. And those are your basic figures. Casey, the Wasp, and then there's that Ultron figure from the comic book. So it's a kind of a mix. And then you'll get like I'm really excited about like these two figures, or not the future Ant-Man, but the Egghead figure. They've never made like an Egghead figure before.
Oh really?
Yeah, even like for Toy Biz back in the day, because Marvel Legends has been around for a while. They've been around since like I don't know about 80s, but 90s, and they were all grittier and stuff like that. So they're just pretty much they're rolling out dollar bills with that line, and it's funny because they can pretty much get away with it because people still buy them. So the only thing that they did recently, which was pretty funny, was that they went to non-package plastic, or not plastic packaging. So they took all the plastic from the packaging. So you had all these like mint and card guys.
Yeah.
And they're like, "What about me? Like I collect mint and box." I'm like, because now it's just a picture on the box. You don't see the window of the figure. You don't see the actual figure.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well, I do feel bad for you, but then also I kind of like the bad for the environment. But I do feel that. I do.
Well, they go half and half. So they have like retro card figures with the plastic in them. But,
cool.
But they're going like also like with your common figures, no plastic. And the last update of the day for toys, Lego just released a $500 a new Lord of the Rings Rivendell set. Costs around $500, 6,167 pieces. Comes with 15 minifigures, Elrod, Gandalf, Boromir, the Fellowship, old Bilbo, Arwen, an old dwarf, an additional elf, or 2 additional elves, I should say, and the Fellowship of the Ring. So this thing is like what you would call like a premium set for Lego.
Right on.
So it's an adult set. I mean, it's just not made for kids.
This is the Rivendell from the new new series. Like, I know it's Rivendell proper, but that Rivendell to me looks like the one from the Amazon series. Am I mistaken?
You could pass on the Amazon series. I've read. I mean, the Amazon series is garbage. No, these are all from the movies. So,
Nice. Okay, cool.
so like this is all from the Peter Jackson movies. You can see like there's an interior, and it's pretty like detailed because you know it's like there's a little bit of a close up on what it looks like inside and whatnot. So so all you Lego fans for Lord of the Rings, it's coming around with the new Lord of the Rings Lego sets. So that's all the updates I got for you. That concludes our toy portion of the podcast. But since our toys are mostly based off of movies and inspired by comic books and movies in Hollywood, I have these two guests with me, new guests, and we're here to talk about the state and future of not only film, but the companies of Disney, Warner Brothers, Star Wars, MCU, DC, the new direction of DC. A lot of things just happening and crazy. I guess we'll just start with Disney because there's just so much to unload. I can't say I've been a bigger fan of stuff coming out of Disney lately, guys. I'm going to ask your opinion. I'm just going to run through some things that have happened to this company in the past year. These are all factual. I've double checked these, and I've pretty much watched other people's channels on this company and what's happening.
Yeah.
Disney just right out the gate just literally laid off 7,000 employees from their company. They have just announced the Toy Story 5, a Frozen 3. Despite the fallout, that's pretty much the response you get from bad box office sales of Strange World and Lightyear. Star Wars hasn't had a movie since 2019. Bad news because Star Wars should sell itself. And the latest phase after Endgame for the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been coined the MCU. The new Ant-Man early reviews for Quantumania have been pretty bad, dull, and boring based on what I've heard. The latest phase has been coined Phase Bore, and they had to switch CEOs from Chapek got fired to Iger is now back in. Yeah, guys, I will hand it off to you now.
Let's just. I love this, but let's start back up at the top. Because I'd like to hit all these other points because it's not bad. But let's just start back at the
all right. Top. Well, we'll start. Disney 7,000 layoffs. There's the Frozen 3, Toy Story 5. What do you guys want to start?
Yeah, we'll start right around in there. Go ahead.
Can I just say why Toy Story 5? Like as a child of the '90s, the year I graduated was the same year that the last Toy Story hit.
Okay.
And so I was like going off to college with Andy. So I was like, God, this time is over.
Andy, yeah.
It's done.
But did he pass his toys on to the new generation?
Yeah. He gave it to him, but that was it. That was the catharsis.
I never saw 4. That's what I'm saying. Like I never seen 4. Well, I did. I went off to college with Andy.
Yeah.
I did the thing. I didn't need to see 4. And then I talked about 4, and then I saw how crazy it was with the Forky, right?
Right.
Yo, that is a crazy premise to think you could put any eyes or googly faces on something, call it a toy, and then it becomes sentient life. What? What? Do that to a tank? That's insane. All right, but that's my thing. But so yeah, Toy Story 3. That's where I stopped. What was Toy Story 4 about?
Woody getting back with Bo Peep.
What? Why? They were always together.
Well, she got sold.
Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? That was not a good toy owner. I don't know who Andy left these toys in possession of, but she.
Well, you watch.
I don't swear on there.
Yeah, you can.
Okay, yeah,
it's for adults. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I should have.
No, you're good. You're good.
I mean, and then they changed the character around, Gerald. She's totally like combat. She's like she's like a ninja almost. Like
that was my biggest problem with like her character was that it's just like it's a radical departure from what we already had established.
Yeah,
not that I didn't think she's incapable of doing some things, but in the couple of years that you didn't see, you're just like this totally different person. You're this badass who has all the powers and ability to do everything. And it's just.
So that is the question I was about to ask. Again, not being the guy who hasn't seen this. So she got sold off, and then it took them years to get back together, right?
No. They bump into each other.
They just bump into cute. This is insane.
It's the equivalency of writing that Palpatine somehow came back.
Okay, so the thing is, they didn't really establish how long it was when, at least
a fair amount of time. At least
we know it was.
Yeah.
We know it was a couple of years. We don't know exactly when.
So she, all right, now I just want to say, I just want to say, when she was sold off, like she was still Bo Peep, yes. But toys go on journeys, guys. That's one thing I learned about Toy Stories. They go on journeys and they grow as toys. Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
Thought it was a toy.
Oh, he's barely in the movie.
That's how that was.
He's not in the movie that much. And Tim Allen was mad about that. Tim Allen was legit
upset about that as a fan of Buzz Lightyear. Look at it this way. It was always like, are you a Woody or are you a Buzz back in the day? I was a Buzz. You're a Woody? Are you a Woody with that face? You just look like Let's get back into what we were actually talking about. So, like, I just don't understand the movie because I haven't seen it. But what I will say is it's a sad safety blanket that companies keep going back to because it's familiar territory and it's something that they can pump. Well, look at it this way. Frozen, I feel like there's a bigger story. I haven't seen Frozen 2. I don't know what's going on with that. Again, some things I will see, some things
We've known Toy Story since '95.
Oh, yeah. 20 years.
It's kept going on. Sure. Frozen is new. That world is still untapped and still have a lot more to develop. Yeah. So run with that.
So what are you trying to say? You want the toys to take over Small Soldiers, Toy Story 6, and they cross worlds.
Woody's Revenge.
Yeah. That'd be insane.
I love the memes where it's like,
yeah, it sucks to see. I mean, look at it this way. There's been so many shit can projects that have been going in and out of Disney for years, and like just different legal battles with other like creatives, like even with like Inside Out.
Yeah,
you love that movie, right?
Yeah, I mean I liked it. I mean it was different.
Legal battle behind the scenes that a psychologist actually wrote to Disney with the similar idea, with only two emotions being different, and I believe envy is one of the main emotions that is different from her story to the new person's story. And again, I don't know how litigation is going on this case, or if it's already done. Probably is. It's Disney. They probably took care of these things. But it was that she pitched this idea that these emotions are running this person's, day to day.
Yeah.
And they gave the whole setup with like a control board, this whole thing, and Disney will do what it wants to do, and if it feels safe, they'll keep going with it. But like something with like legal problems with that, like that, that's why Inside 2 is taking so long to come out.
Yeah,
is because they're like, oh no, we've been having to squash this because that person probably brought this in.
Yeah,
but they just didn't want to have to deal with it.
You guys probably attest to this. It's like when I was growing up, it was an event to see a Disney animation.
Yeah,
Aladdin, Lion King, Beauty and the Beast. I mean, like whatever it was, or Toy Story. Like even like the occasional Pixar. And you'd have amazing soundtracks to these movies, like Pocahontas, and you'd have like big musical numbers and big musical identity. Yeah, Randy Newman and Phil Collins. Yeah. He was another one. I'm trying to think. Like there was another one, but you had that. I mean, like big musical numbers, like big like Grammy winners behind these projects, and you don't even see that anymore. It's like they just kind of got rid of that. They're like, there's no music. And I mean, like Encanto was probably, I would say, the exception, and Frozen too. Music, right? Yeah, most of that is. But like it's not in the same way. I mean, they're all like musicals, but like they're not like.
Yeah, I see the difference. What you're saying, like back in the day, like the story was the main feature, and it was
Elton John with Lion King. Sorry, but like that was another one.
And it was supported strongly by musical numbers.
Yeah.
But it came first. And then nowadays they kind of switch things around in the sense of either this whole thing is just a full dang musical number, basically.
Yeah.
And story might suffer some from that. But in the past, story definitely always came first.
I mean, like, this company is just kind of like all over the place with just not only bad writers, but like, it's like the company is just in a tailspin with the CEO. I heard they brought in some other guy, and he's like the cleaner, and he's gonna fire people, and heads are gonna roll and stuff like that. People already did, right? Yeah, well, that's part of it. But these people are also woke too. They're inserting ideology and politics into, entertainment, and that's where people go to, escape all that stuff. I mean, I think our show, when we were working on our show, it was diverse. It was good storytelling, and this was before the woke fan hit. And it was just we did everything organically when we would have a writers room, when we would write a script, and we weren't concerned about checking boxes. We were concerned about who's the best person for the job, who shows up on most days for shooting days, who it was pretty much like next man up, because we had deadlines and stuff like that.
That's fair. And it was also like who wanted to be there though too, and we did get a pretty diverse swath of people that wanted to be on board. And I mean, I'm not saying that Disney doesn't, but it has a way of.
Oh yeah, they're very inclusive, but I think that's the issue about them is that they're trying to be too inclusive, you know. And one of the things that we didn't do is like when we came together and we worked on a project, it was just about our idea. We didn't want to mix like political talk or things inside of it, and that's totally fine. That's as long as the storytelling is good. Because, for example, X-Men is very political as far as like the comic books and stories and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they made it so that was something within the world itself that they had to deal with. Disney, right now, what they're doing, they're kind of taking like our real world events and applying it inside of their creations
Right.
and still comparing it to the real world. In the past, with other stuff like you just pointed out with X-Men, yeah, they took that, but they kind of morphed it into the world so you could still get the message for what the meaning in our world, but it wasn't directly saying like, hey, this is a current topic and issue, blah, 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 here's in your face.
And most movies that we grew up with and got to enjoy, or even other people, look, like if you go back to 70s, 80s, 60s, 50s, 20s, all the way back to when movies started, most movies were just fun stories that wanted to be told because somebody had a really good idea and needed to get that story out. So they put it on the script, got a bunch of people together, filmed it, or turned it into animation and made cartoons, which is awesome. But they made stories to be fun, to tell a new story. That's why we got Turner and Hooch, the Ninja Turtles, Saved by the Bell. Like there's so many different mediums that you could pick from that are fun that weren't trying to be preachy.
Yeah.
And, look at it this way, that can be what, social media and the optics of people put on you because that's what's going on Twitter and different things like that. And it is what it is. And you can't help that.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing there. That's the difference. It's like they're a company. They're always chasing trends or what's popular and stuff like that.
I think a lot of it is, guys, it's just to get clicks. It's a marketing gimmick. It's who cares? Just go see it and consume next product. And
and Disney's even been bad about it in the way that like in some of their last couple of movies that they put out in the past 10 years. One that I saw, one that I caught the tail end of, but it was the live action Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
Where they were praising the fact that they had one of their first gay characters in the movie. They were like all about it, and it turned out to be. And I love the guy. He's super funny. He plays the snowman. I can't think. Josh Gad.
Okay.
He was live action. He was one of the plates and cups in the house that turned back into a man at the end of the thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's dancing with a man at the end of the thing, and he winks over at him, and you're like, wait, that meant that he was gay. And then they did the same thing with Power Rangers when they got a hold of that,
right.
And they're like, oh, we got a gay Power Ranger, and it happened to be the Yellow Ranger, and she was just like, oh yeah, I'm kind of into girls, and they were all like, what? And I'm like, this is not what you do for your characters. Look at it this way.
Right.
Again, love certain things that Disney's been able to put out over the past few years. One of my favorites is called Owl House, and they got rid of it. They just outright canceled it, but enough fan service and enough of us all collectively coming together and be like, we love this series. They gave it enough to let the creator finish the show with a 3-part end series. So instead of giving them a full season, they're like, you can have an hour and a half for each of these parts. Tell the rest of your story. Be done with your story. And I don't know if they were afraid of their character or not, but I don't think they knew what they had when they were pitched this or given it at first. Her name is Luz Nozella. She's amazing.
Yeah.
And she was a bisexual character that they came up with. And when they first dropped it in, before Disney was really kind of trying to control it, it felt like a nice peppering over a delicious meal where you're like, what an organic character. What a hero for all of this new generation. And so scary that Disney is letting this happen. Oh my gosh. But then when Disney canceled it and then had to bring it back, when they brought back the character in the part 1 series and she comes back to her homeworld.
Yeah.
Sorry to ruin things for fans. Sorry, guys. She does this big reveal almost to her mom kind of coming out. And when they do it in this overly dramatic Disney way. And they like have a character running around shooting rainbows in the background, waving flags, and you're just like, it's too much for being too much. And then Disney is also too subtle for being what they want to be. So I don't know where Disney can't find that medium to let organic characters happen, rather than be like, we'll say it's in there and keep it a secret, or we won't really say anything and we'll make it overtly who this is now.
Right. I mean, they were always the kid-friendly, family-friendly company. And I'll even say this, we'll segue into Star Wars with this, and they have like they're gonna at Star Wars Celebration they're gonna have drag people there, people dressed in drag, and that's I mean it's
Nice.
I mean it's very alarming for families and kids to be at this event, and then you see that.
I mean, we're going to be doing like drag Princess Leia, and then saying like, that's Leia.
No, that was the Leia. That was no, not Leia. Padme. That was the decoy. That's the decoy.
Oh yeah.
Right. Dude running around in a Padme dress. And we're like, hey, what's up, guys?
I mean, like, it's just kind of strange because I've spoken to parents and I said, what do you think of Disney? And I was just like, I can't subjugate my kid to that. And it's like, well, I mean, it's like, well, I get it. Like, I mean, it's like, listen, I get it if you have it subtly and it's a little bit more organic, but then it's like, you can't just throw it in their kids' faces, because it's like, I can't, like, they're just like, they got to watch now with, what their kids are consuming. And I mean, just Star Wars just has not been relevant since, what was it, Solo? That was the last movie. That was the last Star Wars movie, and that didn't even make money.
Wow, that was the last one. Was Solo?
That was the last movie, because everything since that has been a television show. Mandalorian, Andor, Boba Fett. Just
well, it's unfortunate. They mishandled the sequel series. The craziest thing, and we were talking about this the other day, that they did with that series for me was deciding that they were going to have multiple directors for this trilogy. It's like, how can you tell one concise story by ever doing that? That's just insane. But at the end of the day, I know the purpose of that sequel series was to wipe the slate clean of everything that happened before. So they can say, it's like, hey, this is the Star Wars universe, but now we get to tell what we want, So it's Star Wars, but it's our version of Star Wars. Now, everything that happened before doesn't even matter.
Right.
That's a huge slap in the face for fans who've been like, they love the movies, or sometimes not, whatever.
Sure.
But all the books, all the comics and things that went with it, the comic series where that got really huge later on, especially like the following the years with Darth Vader, like his teaching the Inquisitors and stuff.
Yeah.
Really huge stuff.
Right.
Really cool. But it's an enormous fan base, and to do something big disservice and disrespect to those people, like, I can see you want to create your own story, but my idea was, fine, if you're going to do that, then like have things happening in this new universe happen like 500 years in the future.
Right.
Everybody who lived back then or whatever are long dead, and
they're a legacy at that point.
Right.
Yeah.
And so now you're starting off something new. You can have throwbacks every once in a while, but you can tell an original story that doesn't disrespect anything that happened previously.
Yeah. And you want to add something?
No, I agree. I mean, I'm just going to agree with that. Look, Star Wars is lost its way back when they got rid of it, man. I mean, they know what they did. Look, Star Wars, just like what Gerald was saying, not only the comics, but the other source material that were the books that were supplemental, things that I used to read back in the early 2000s from my library. Man, they were so good and they were so deep, and they made the characters rich and they made them real like you never believe. And I was excited when I heard that it was getting picked back up. I was blown away.
Yeah.
I knew some of the storylines, so I was like, here we go. And then a month, 2 months later, after they picked it up, they literally came out and said everything that has come before this date, on this day, is now no longer canon. Man, again, like Gerald said, what a slap in the face. That's to get a hold of a series and say we don't respect what came before us, and we can do it better. Man, good luck. And then to ruin it in such a capacity that now everybody can't stand it, and we all see that it's not even fan service at this point.
Right.
It's blatant, shove it in your face wokeness, but not wokeness, but it's dumb shit that I don't need. Like, I don't need a weak Obi-Wan going through trauma and stuff. Look at it this way. When that little girl fell off the building the very first time that I saw that episode, it was episode 1, right?
It was like, 1 or 2.
1 or 2, yeah. I tried to give it a chance. Look,
yeah.
When I watched him go over the edge, and I was like, this is his moment. He's going to be like, boom, and that's what I wanted for Obi-Wan, and I wanted big force. I wanted to watch him stop her on a dime. I wanted the whole freaking alleyway to just go with dust and like other things to float, and him to be like, I am a Jedi master. No, he's like, He can barely do it. Weak as hell. I'm sad about this character, and I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah.
All the other characters since then, I don't care. I don't care about that supplemental crap. Make new characters.
Right.
Make the new ones that actually matter. Give me those stories. If you want to act like you can tell a better story, quit using old characters as a crutch.
Yeah. I mean, you're hit the nail, both of you, right on the head. That's what I'm going to say. You're right. They're always weak male characters. And I really didn't like the fact that they had him facing off Darth Vader in such a boring environment.
He had the high ground and he still lost.
Yeah. And it was just kind of like, this doesn't need to happen, because that's what makes, when you go to episode 4, it's like, last time I saw you, I was but the learner. You can't contradict that. That's in there. That you're just saying, screw that, whatever. And then you have like the bait and switch, right? Oh, you think he's going to be kind of protecting Luke. No, he's protecting baby Leia. That's pretty much what they were, alluding to there. And then you don't see Luke till the very end. And then all of a sudden, this goes for Marvel too. This goes for Star Wars too. Every villain is just misunderstood and is eventually a good person. And it's like, no, there were just cynical, evil people out there, and you have to put that in some of the stories.
I love that you said that, because that's something that I keep seeing in a lot of projects now in the past few years. And don't get me wrong, right. I love a redemption story. All that's well and good. But this happened early on, like about 15, 20 years ago.
Right.
Tony Soprano is probably the first character of this happening, in the sense that you have this dark, mob-esque guy who's a piece of shit, and like, but man, I love Tony. It's Tony. And he weasels his way into being your hero. Walter White, same thing.
Right.
Dexter Morgan, same thing.
Right.
Look at it this way. I'm not trying to say I don't want to have subversive characters be able to grow in a way that feels like a character arc. That's right.
Right.
But I also hate the fact that certain characters, even Harley Quinn, she's a hero now. Her character arc worked because they had to make it work.
Yeah.
When they were first trying to make her a hero, I was bummed. Man, they've done that with so many villains. You know what I want to start seeing? And they tried to do it in Young Justice, and it was super cool. Start making some heroes villains. But they also tried to do it one other time in comics with Wally West, and me and other fans collectively said, fuck off, DC. And they absolutely fucked right off, and they left him alone. But there was a moment where they tried to do that for some other characters, because they're like, how do we be edgy? How do we be cool? How do we be subversive? Because for the new thing back then was, we'll make a bad guy good.
Yes.
Now we are getting to the point where that is an old hat, and now we need to make good guys bad.
Right.
And that's why so many people love Homelander.
Yeah.
Because he's the evil Superman.
Yeah, right.
And I've seen that, and I've read that comic before that ever even hit my shelf, but I fucking love The Boys.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
So good.
It's fantastic.
That's why we like Omni-Man too. He's evil Superman.
Yeah. I mean, you just don't get a pure evil villain like you used to. It's always a redemption story, misunderstanding. I mean, you guys written characters. You've written both heroes and villains on our show and on various projects. Like, what do you look for when you're writing into a character and you're just like, you're creating a character? I mean, you can be brief about it, either heroes or villains. I mean, go ahead.
Well, I always start off with the story overall, like what type of story that I'm actually trying to make and where I'm trying to take, because one thing you have to think about is like the ending. That's your most important thing. Where do you want the characters that end off?
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm going to make somebody who's a hero descend into villainhood, I'm going to make it so that it's unredeemable.
Right.
They're dropped. They're never coming back. Or if I was going to do vice versa, it's the same way. It's like they're never coming back. Now they're a good guy going forward. I think the problem with the industry now is just basically it's become a trope, and everyone feels as though that they need to do it.
Yeah.
Since we're talking about Disney, I'll talk about one villain that I hate that they did this to because I loved it so much. One of my favorite stories growing up was Sleeping Beauty, and I love Maleficent because she was just a badass. She is evil. She just wanted to be evil, and she's evil because she's evil. I mean, this woman like searched for 18 years for this chick.
Oh yeah,
sent her goons all over the place, never gave up just because she wasn't invited to the birthday party. She knew that she would never be invited to the birthday party.
Right.
And she placed a curse on it just to be evil. There's no other reason. And so then Disney did the live action Maleficent, and they put that trailer out there. I remember watching this back in college. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is Disney going dark. They're actually going to give like the villain the main story, and we're going to see the story from their perspective. That's interesting.
Yeah.
That'd be damn cool to see what was going on, why she did this and whatnot, whatever.
But what did they do?
And they changed her over to and misunderstood. She was never the villain.
Yep.
The king was actually the one who puts a story out there that was false, made her a villain. It was the guy's fault, and she's actually good. And the three good fairies, who were one of the best parts about the original Sleeping Beauty, because they were hilarious. They made them into absolute idiots. And Maleficent was actually the one that cared about her. She was a fairy godmother, and she saved her and everything like that. And the king was the one that violated her and all sorts. And I was just like, oh my god. And plus, there is no good men in that entire story. There's only one, and he's not even a man. He's a crow. But the rest of the men.
And that's what it was. Look at it this way. I had the same gripe when they did the Cruella movie. Love Emma Watson. What a phenomenal actor. I love her. She's amazing. But look, I watched. I came over one time. I think my mom and my sister were watching it, and I was just like, "Oh, what are you guys got on?" And I saw it, and I'm like, "I'm out." And I hang out. I come back up, and I happen to just catch the one moment of her origin story. Man, they made her origin stories that apparently Dalmatians killed her mom and dad, and that's why. Because they're dumb. And that's what I was saying to my friends when they were all like getting excited for the movie. I'm like, how do you make this character likable? She wanted to take puppies and skin them for their coats before they got spots. Literally, like fresh puppies. That's what she was worried about. Like, oh, it's a Dalmatian coat with no spots. Could you imagine? And I'm like, no, because they're baby dogs. You're evil.
Right.
You're evil.
Right.
Just be evil. And look, that's the other thing, like we were saying earlier, without going too far into all the other silly old stuff, is to let these characters just be evil for the sake of being evil. But they don't do it anymore because you're supposed to be smart. Right. You're supposed to give them a why or a reason to make them seem smarter. You don't have to, because look, that's what it was before. You said it before. Entertainment, man, is always supposed to just be for fun. You weren't coming up with these crazy villains to be like, they have a heart.
Yeah.
Do you see it? I'm like, no, because they're fucking evil. They just put a bomb in a building and they're threatening hundreds of lives.
Right.
He has a heart? No, he does not. Please don't keep doing this.
And that's the thing, too. Just because they're just an all-out evil character doesn't mean they have to be one-dimensional.
Right.
And I understand, like, issues in the past. Characters were bad. I'm just a bad guy, so they exist. But you can still have characters have depth, have motive, and reason, and still be pure evil.
The best character that I can equate to that, because that was the perfect way to sum up an evil character, and the only one that I've ever seen really hold that line true to form was Shredder.
Mm.
And Shredder is evil for being evil, but for the reasons he believes are right, but he is evil through and through. And that character is probably one of the only ones that I've, like, now that we're talking about this out loud and thinking about it, can't think of another one that would really hold that. But man, Shredder's the guy who is, in my mind now, like the most evil. No redemption, no like look, they even tried to do it for Voldemort at the end of the Hogwarts series. Where they're like, oh, look at this little crippled fucking fetus thing. Don't you feel bad for it, Harry? I laughed out loud when that happened in the theaters. There was a woman next to me crying, and she looked at me like I was a monster, and I felt so bad. But at the same time, I was so shocked to see this little fetus creature on the ground in heaven when Dumbledore, right, was also like, oh, don't worry, the rules we set up at the beginning of the series don't matter to you, Harry. Go on, go back to life. And I'm like, this is bonkers.
Right.
Anyways, that's my other option.
I mean, just to finishing out Star Wars, I thought this franchise was dead. They backstabbed George Lucas, said you're not involved anymore. You're
Of
done.
course.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
Of
and
course.
you're done. Like, I'm like, oh, that's it. Like, I mean, like I thought. Well, I'm sure they have smart, creative people at their disposal, which was a lie. Kathleen Kennedy has ran Star Wars into the ground. She's doing Indiana Jones, which I could guarantee you this year is going to be a bait and switch.
There's so many people that I've talked to in the past few weeks, at least 15, that are like, "Oh, I'm excited," and I'm like,
No,
"Oh,
you're not.
no,
geriatric
No, you're not.
Indiana Jones.
Because there's going to be a female upstager who's going to make him look dumb, and there's going to be time travel. That's pretty much already almost confirmed.
Why?
Well, because there were crystal skulls last time."
Yeah, I know.
Honestly, I haven't really been that invested with Marvel since Endgame.
Yeah, it's fine.
And
It's
that's
fine.
it's fine. That should have been the end of that shit. I honest so like there's been so many Marvel movies, so many. Like, and you need to watch them all because this one small thing happened in this movie. So and they bring it up here, and you're like, what the hell are they talking about? It's like, oh well, this was in Iron Man 2, and you need. I'm like, oh my god. So
Yeah.
who cares?
Well, here I'll tell you. So for the common moviegoer and also movie fans, our friend Gerald, not unlike comic readers like my friend Brock and myself.
Yeah.
So the difference though is you're a Marvel guy, right?
Yeah.
You're a DC guy too, but you're
Yeah.
a bigger Marvel collection, I would say, than a DC collection.
Yeah, but Marvel markets a lot of their merchandise better.
And that's totally fine.
But
And
if
I'm
you
not-
want to go by pure storytelling and just comic books, it's DC.
Oh, and see, that's awesome, and I appreciate you saying that because I'm of that same mindset. But I will say, what is the difference is Marvel, DC does it too. Marvel does it more. Marvel will create a series run. So, like, you want to read Spider-Man, you're getting into Spider-Man. Well, after Spider-Man 1 and 2, when you go to Spider-Man 3, oh wait, at the end of that, jump to I don't know, Shang-Chi. Episode 4 to figure out what happened to Spider-Man in this one little mini arc.
Right.
And then he jumps back to Spider-Man 3, and then at the beginning of Spider-Man 3, it literally says, oh, if you didn't read this part, oh god, you missed out. And I'm like, that's crazy. Why would I need to buy one comic of Shang-Chi to understand the rest of the full Spider-Man story rather than just giving me that because they want you to pick and choose and they want to have this quote-unquote interconnected world. But it's just that they're all in the same fucking world, and sometimes they all operate together. There's so many heroes to think that they wouldn't cross paths. It's bonkers. But that's the problem for movie viewers. They're like, I gotta see it all to understand it all, and that's the way they're presenting it to you, which is fucked up because you don't. You should just be able to pick and choose what you want. And these shows and TV series or movies moving forward, if they can take one thing away from this podcast, it's turn yourself into bottled series.
Right.
And just be She-Hulk.
Right.
And just worry about what's going on in She-Hulk's world. Or, like, if you want to interconnect every now and then, you can. But just worry about those characters.
It's overload.
And highlighting new characters. Right, but then if you're a fan of She-Hulk, you get to go to She-Hulk and not have to worry about what's going on in the Thunderbolts.
Right.
Or what's going on in another Iron Man movie that's coming up. But that's the cool thing. You wouldn't have to, because then if you're just a bigger fan of Iron Man or Thor or whatever, then you get to pick what you want instead of being like, I have to consume it all. And then it won't feel as daunting. Oh, I only really want Thor. Cool. We got a bunch of Thor heads over here. So we got an Iron Man project coming down the way, or even a, I almost said Flash Quicksilver, and then give them what they want, piecemealing it, but not in a way where it feels like overload, because it does right now.
I mean, it's overload, and it's going to be comic book fatigue pretty soon. I think that's going to hit.
Oh yeah.
Because I speak just a lot of regular movie goers, and I'm just like, this is just way too much superhero stuff, and I can't keep up with it. And you're getting to the point where it's like to understand what's going on in the movies now, you have to watch 20 years worth of movies to understand what's going on, what references. So you're creating gaps in your movie, because you're referring to way too many films, way too many crossovers, way too many like buddy movies and stuff like that. I mean, it's like we're starting to see it. Like it should have ended with Endgame and then either do a hard reboot or whatever. But it's like, I remember when like they showed all the girls like together in one shot, which was a weird thing to do, because how many women do you see that many women together in one shot like that in like real life? Never. And that was their wink wink into the next phase. And then it just kind of evolved to, we're gonna make a she Thor, we're gonna make a she Hulk, we're gonna make a she Captain America, we're gonna make a Ironheart. It's just like the evidence is there, whether you believe it or not, and it's like and then it's just like too much of that on top of like, then you got these subpar projects, which I mean, like even like Doctor Strange, meh. I mean, Shang-Chi, for a kung fu movie, no blood, very meh. Everyone's hair is perfect in that movie. Give me a break. Eternals, nobody saw that movie. Thor, the CGI looked like garbage. Ant-Man's not getting great reviews. Looks like a video game. I mean, it's just kind of like you just see the value of quality, but on the backstage side, they are running their VFX artists into the ground, and they want to unionize. That's also happening right now.
Well, that
So,
makes sense.
I mean, as far as Marvel's concerned, Marvel's like on cardiac arrest. Yeah, and you're just spamming a bunch of stuff, just content, 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 content.
You know why? Because of Disney Plus. We need to fill it up with content because we don't have enough.
I mean, it really it just feels like you're in your car, right? And you're just waiting for this long train to go by because you want to cross the tracks, and if this train ain't ended, like it's not. Or then there's another train. It's like, I mean, like I'm just like it's very men. I mean, like even with the future projects, I'm not that excited for. There's nothing really like down the pipeline I'm excited for.
There's not much for me, but I'm interested in seeing what them going forward. My favorite characters from Marvel, ironically, were owned by Fox. So
Oh yeah,
X Men. I love the X Men. That was Fox. I love the Fantastic Four. That was Fox. I love Spider Man. That was Fox.
right.
So I was like, well, shit. I watched the Fox movies and they didn't do too great of a job, although they did get better with the X Men series going forward. I know they now have access to these characters.
Oh, sure, they
But-
said mutants and stuff.
But it
Yeah.
was such a huge miss, going through the Avengers and Endgame and all that stuff without those characters.
Yeah.
I mean, God, the mutants are some of the most powerful, beings in the Marvel universe, and most of them non-existent, basically.
Yeah, but that's companies not coming together. Like that's not storytelling.
I know,
Yeah, so that is what it is.
but it does affect the storytelling.
I mean, it does, but yeah, that's just if people can't get along, you can't fault them.
I know, I'm not faulting them for that or anything like that, but yeah, it's just getting to the point of just overall it's fatigue. There's just been so much stuff coming out.
And it's like now everyone's like it's a funny movie now. It's all comedy, like slapstick, PG-13 rating, and stuff like that. To go off, so we're both comic book guys, man. I always think back to the early movies like Blade, Thomas Jane's The Punisher, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, the X-Men with Gerald. To me, and I rewatched the X-Men, and I'm thinking like, damn, these movies were really good because they weren't about a broader universe. It was about the character, and those movies I just named, I think those are the best character comic book based Marvel films. Just because you just got a real sense of Wesley Snipes' Blade, Thomas Jane's The Punisher,
Yeah.
Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, just so focused, and it just seemed like it leapt out of the page.
Yeah, so like I was saying earlier, like this is how you fight that fatigue. That's what I was saying, and you just brought up what you wanted, and it was the fact that you want bottle characters. You want them in their own thing. You want them doing stuff, but you want Blade being Blade. You want Punisher doing Punisher things, but it needs to feel like they don't need to interact with anybody else because they don't. Because they fucking don't. They have their own great stories, and you don't need it to be this thing. Look, that's the other thing. Like talk about jumping a shark. You can't not have a galaxy world-ending, multiverse-ending thing now in Marvel and not be like, nobody wants anything else.
Right.
You can't go back. You can't roll this back in. You've gone to this big extensive level of being like we have to fight these not omniscient, ancient, primordial beings who have been here before time, and you're like
they painted themselves in the corner because they blew the load too soon.
And that's just because they didn't want to tell all of the other stories individually, and they did for a little bit, but then they were like, "Oh, let's make more. Yeah. That's the saddest thing about. And I love Captain America. Love it. Right. First one, great, so good. That told his story. But the second Captain America was the first Avengers movie, and I stand by that to this day. When him and Bucky were doing their things, and I'm like, it's so sad because it was such a good movie, but this is an Avengers movie. This isn't a Captain America movie. You should have never even called it that.
Right.
So, and that's where I started to feel that actually happening was in that movie where I'm like, oh fuck, it's too much, and they're like, how many more can cram in there?
Right.
I'm like, too many, man. I'll tell you.
I mean, it's just like Marvel. I mean, they're good at what they do with the universe thing, but then it's just too much, and then it's like the quality of the CGI looks like garbage. Thor didn't look like really like this. This is what they look like now. Like no, and it's like weird because the continuity's all like not together. Like it's like the snap would have been so detrimental to society. Even when they all disappeared, and then you'd see like planes like falling out of the sky and stuff like that, and trains crashing, and then when they come back, because then everyone just kind of blips back to wherever they were, and you'd have people like in the middle of the sky
falling to their death.
falling to their death.
People literally appearing back into a street, or maybe even if like a chair was like in that place where that person was sitting, or it was higher up. Does that mean that's now inside my body? Like, there's so many questions
like,
that weren't answered.
When you blipped them out and blipped them back in, it would have been detrimental to society.
Yeah.
You know, and just stuff like that. You're just kind of thinking like they're not thinking these things through.
Not enough. But then they're like, how do you pass that off? You're like, oh, we call it a blip.
Yeah.
And it's just a blip, and it sounds like a funny little marvelly thing. Just like how they fucking made the spider sense sound stupid, and they called it a Peter tinkle.
Yeah.
That's such a stupid choice. It was good.
All right, closing on Disney. How do you see the future for Disney? Bright, hopeful, just gonna get worse before.
Toys, man. I'll tell you that. Yeah,
so. get worse before it gets better.
I was gonna say their toys are helping them through it for sure. I think it's going to. And you touched a little bit on this earlier when you said Lightyear, which I won't get out of here, but they are going to try to jump ship and be as subversive with their intellectual properties that they have to try to make these new stories rather than make new story. That's the problem. That's why I said, like, if you want to take Star Wars from me and tell me you can do it better, then do it. Yeah. Don't keep giving me old characters or recycled garbage and then telling me it's good, or making these other characters bad and good and then telling me that you're smart.
Right.
That sucks. So no, I think Disney is on a decline, and it will be until they can get new blood in the door and are safe and feel like they can keep that. That's all movie companies.
Right, like they're gonna have to set a standard and then get creative people, and just kind of like go back to basics of what made them great. I mean,
they just need some stability. I mean, they just need some stability going forward. There's so many sections and parts of Disney now, and they're all trying to do their own thing at the same time. So as we've talked for like the last hour or so about all these different segments of Disney, what's going wrong with them, whatever, they just need some stability, and it starts at the top. Yeah. Bob Iger, that's his name, right? Yeah. He has returned, but the funny thing is, like, some of the things that he chose to do in the past have been part of the problems that led Disney to where it is today.
Yeah.
So I don't know if his return is going to be a great thing or not, but they just need to stabilize, and stay out of politics, please.
Yeah, definitely.
It doesn't matter what side of things you're falling on. It's like as soon as you you choose a side, you alienate and make other people angry, or you take people who are neutral like myself, and it's like, gosh, why are we talking about politics? I don't want to see these things in media I consume to enjoy.
Right.
I even consume this stuff to get away from our stuff in real life, So
okay, well, we'll close the topic on Disney and we'll go straight to Warner Brothers DC. Warner Brothers kind of like they're not doing that many political things, but they just seem to be making bad things, like bad decisions, bad movies, and stuff like that. DC movies, I mean, that's hit or miss. I mean, some of them are good, some of them are bad, some of them are just like people would rather forget they existed. Even the Fantastic Beast movies, they cut the cord on those. There's not anything new coming out of those now. I mean, I just this far, I mean, like with DC, because that's most of the things they own. I just thought the new structure, James Gunn going forward, I thought, well, just keep the actors you have. You didn't have to do the whole Snyderverse. You could acknowledge that it happened and it happened, and then suddenly just like, okay, and then just keep the same actors, but give it a fresh take from here on. I didn't think it was necessary to gut the whole thing. Get rid of so and so as Aquaman, Jason Momoa as Aquaman, Henry Cavill as Superman, and now the future DC movies don't mean anything because there's going to be a reset. So like how you're going to lose money there, and it's just kind of strange where I'm not going to say he's going to fail, but like he released his new lineup of Superman, Supergirl, Green Lanterns, The Authority, Paradise Lost, Themyscira, Batman, Brave and the Bold, Creature Commandos. Waller, Booster Gold, Swamp Thing. I mean, some of those seem interesting, but I'm not like I'm not getting out of my chair like, oh my gosh, like that stuff like that. But like so much from DC has been subpar or just bad, and it's just like I didn't think like I just don't see a future like better Wonder Woman movie from the first Wonder Woman movie that we got, or a better Shazam movie or better Aquaman movie than the ones those were the winners in my opinion. Obviously, certain ones were losers, like the first Suicide Squad. Um, yeah, I'm trying to think of more bad ones. Dawn of Justice wasn't very good at all. Way too overloaded with stuff. I mean, I thought Man of Steel was fine.
I
I
like
mean,
Man of
and I
Steel.
thought you could build that up to like a stronger second and third movie. I liked Aquaman. Like Wonder Woman 2 was deplorable. Like so there. Like there's these hits and misses. I'm not really excited about the Flash movie, but I just your thoughts, guys, on James Gunn taking over, rebooting the whole thing, and are you optimistic? Are you pessimistic?
No, hold on. No, let's get first.
Yeah, I
I
was
know,
gonna say, yeah,
I
I
know
want Joe to go
this is
first.
going to be a
Yeah.
monologue. It's going to go from
No,
that.
yeah, for sure. I'm gonna get in on this. I do want Joe to go first. Can I grab another water real quick from
Yeah, it might be in the fridge, or there's one on the table
Yeah,
right
I'm gonna
there
grab
too.
one over here. But
Yeah,
yeah, I'm gonna let Joe go first.
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so one of the things I just want to say, like in contrast to Marvel, uh, the thing about DC, at least in the cinematic universe, is that they haven't produced as much content.
Yeah,
So they have some like longevity when it comes to producing like more films and stuff. But their biggest detriment, and something that you mentioned in passing, is that they always hit the reset button every time we get something established, one or two movies, and if we're lucky, three. Dang, boom, you like reset. We're starting all over again. Like the best example of this out of them is Batman. How many fucking Batman have we had in the cinematic universe? Like, oh my freaking gosh! And every time, uh,
Three.
okay, but still going forward, it's just like it always restarts. I'm very tired of it. It's like we they start off with the origin story. They say, "Oh, Batman, crime alley." It's like we know this. We've known this. We've known this since Batman's come out, 70 years ago. It's like let's move on. We don't need Batman's origin story anymore. That's one of their problems. They need to just stick with something and move forward with it.
So, are you optimistic about the future?
I'm not really sure what to think because I don't really know what to expect because
Right.
everything changes like pretty much every like 5 to 7 years. Everything reboots, so I don't really know what to expect or whatever. There are things that I would like to see. I'd like to see Green Lantern stuff going forward and stuff like that, but new Superman stuff. I don't know. Superman's always hard to like make a movie for. I think like the last Superman we got was probably the best like representation of like his powers and stuff because it's just hard to like someone who's basically like god level power to like really capture that on film. And that's why their animated universe gets so much better because you can tell those stories from the comics far more effectively through
Right.
animation than through live action.
Yeah. So jumping in on this, I'm excited for the most part because this is the universe that I love the most. Marvel's great. DC is different for different reasons for me, but the characters are also like look, they're more diverse than most Marvel characters. And most
Yeah.
people don't know that, and
Yeah.
like that's the funny thing about DC is like it just doesn't get the like you said, it doesn't get the proper marketing that Marvel gets. So most people don't know, and why would you look into it unless you want to look into it?
Yeah.
You don't unless it's mainstream, and that's cool. I get that. But when it comes to what James Gunn and Peter Safran, don't forget the other half,
Yeah.
is doing right now, and I actually came to find out because I've been getting back into certain series, one of them being Peacemaker. I realized that he was an executive producer on that as well. So I feel like that's how James Gunn and him got thick as thieves, get close friends. That's why he's part of what is the rebirth of the DCEU.
Right.
My biggest thing is just understanding your properties and who these characters are to give me the safety as a fan, knowing that the source material is being respected.
Right.
Mhm.
That's what I want for DC because like you said, you're worried about the Flash movie. You don't even need to worry about it because he even said in the statement that he put out, Flash is going to reset the universe.
Right.
He's either choosing to do a Flashpoint storyline or he's going to do Infinite Crisis. He's going to do, or he'll do a third one. But it's essentially like that was this weird offset where essentially Barry ran so fast that he had to run into the Speed Force, sacrificing his own life. They're great stories. They're amazing. But moving forward, just like Gerald said, they're going to do this reset because they have to. And also they need to get rid of certain problematic actors and things like that, which is going to help them potentially moving forward. But look, most movies, and I've been saying it for a while, just need to be tonally different. Let like the Lobo movie with Jason Momoa, because that's what he is now, and he's honestly a better choice as Lobo than he was as Aquaman.
Yeah.
I loved him as Aquaman, but if you go back, and I can't think of the actor's name right now, it's escaping me. But he also played Owlman in the Watchmen series.
Yeah.
But he played Orm, counterparts to Aquaman. What the funniest thing is when I watched the Aquaman movie and I watched them two swim up to each other, and I watched them, and I was like, you're supposed to be Orm and you're supposed to be Aquaman.
Yeah.
And I wanted the roles to be reversed because I'm a comic book guy like that. And I don't want to say I'm a purist because I like when new things happen and I like new characters and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I have certain characters and I'm like, no, this is Arthur Curry. Just fucking make him blonde, dog. It's so easy.
Yeah.
So now that he's Lobo and he just gets to keep his long, scraggly black hair and his big ass muscles, and they're just gonna paint him white and give him white ass eyes, I'm here for it because that's what he fucking looks like. That's great. That's proper casting in a role where you fit the character.
Right.
But Jason Momoa did a good job at making Jeff Johns' comic book run of Aquaman the character who they made in the movie, and that Aquaman I'd get a beer with any day of the week. He's a fucking boss. The Aquaman before him sucked. Well, got really super edgy, then they had to even him out. There's a whole bunch of things. I don't need to go into it.
Right.
But what I will say for James Gunn, he understands these certain characters need to be able to be, what do I want to say? Again, like diversely different, tonally different. Like fun for Booster Gold, but dark for Batman.
Right.
Or like a cop, like, I can't think of what it is, but like the one that Matt McConaughey was real famous for. What was that cop movie that it was in? Or a cop show? True Lives, True Detectives?
I think so, yeah. I mean, he's played a lot of law.
So many things. But so, like, then you make that like the Green Lantern show, where it's like this noir cop show, buddy cop show.
Yeah.
Like you give them their different genres so that when you watch these, they feel different, they feel new. So when you watch the Creature Commandos, you're like, oh, this is a cool new cartoon with all these new characters that I can really fall in love with, and they have all these different styles. And maybe they'll mention Batman or Superman every now and then, but they don't care to because they're the Creature Commandos and they don't need to interconnect these worlds. And if they stay away from that, I feel that James Gunn will have a good chance moving forward with these certain characters. But like what Gerald said earlier, it's sad that DC has to quote unquote play catch up to Marvel and are forced to give the story almost too fast, so that you have to jam it in all together. That's why the Justice League movie felt so undeserved. Because Batman's like, I need a Justice League, and then he gets it. It just happens. He's just like, I want Wonder Woman. She's like, I'm on board, Bruce. And he's just like, Flash is like, don't worry, I'm on board. And then they're like, we need to find Cyborg. Then he just shows up. He's like, hi, I'm Cyborg. But it's so lazy. It's sad. And that's because they had to play catch up to Marvel because they're the big daddy of the market, so they wanted to get some of that money, that cheddar. I get it. But they did it in a way that felt forced and nobody wanted. So if James Gunn can take the time to give these characters life and breathe, he'll find so many new fans. You're going to find people who are going to love these characters. But you got to give them time.
I mean, I was against the fact that they got rid of Henry Cavill. But, I get they're trying to go through a clean slate. But it's like, then if you're just going to get rid of everyone, get rid of everyone. It's like they're kind of picking and choosing. Yeah, they're picking and choosing. I was like, well, I would have kept Henry Cavill and then, recast Aquaman and then kept Wonder Woman and kept the Zachary Levi as Shazam. He's fantastic.
He's great, but they're all going to be gone. Just look at this one. Zachary Levi's first. Shazam is coming out within the next few weeks. Yeah. Shazam's coming out, and then after that, it's Aquaman 2. Yeah. And then after that, it's The Flash. And with that, it will be a reset of the universe in a way that all of those predecessors beforehand, they will find a new Shazam. They will find a new Aquaman because they can, because of what they're setting up. Yeah. But certain stories felt fun because they were totally different, man. Yeah. Look at it this way. Man of Steel was okay. I hated it.
Right.
I just got done talking about this with somebody else the other day where they're like, oh yeah, when he was smashing through the buildings and then after the fight, then he realizes that he shouldn't do that. I'm like, that's fucked up.
Right.
Because Superman knew that from Jump Street because he was taught that from John and Martha Kent about his abilities and being too strong for this world, and they were the ones that instilled this sensibility on what is an alien life form trying to be human.
Right.
In the movies, he felt like too alien trying to be human, and he felt like Kal-El. He didn't feel like Clark to me. He felt like an alien on this planet that still didn't understand humanity, even though he's been living with it for what 30, 40 years.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not in the camp of saying like, oh, that was the perfect Superman movie, but I thought like, okay, that's your first film, fine, but like you could put some freaking color in the second movie, make him like Truth, Justice, and American Way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like it's about American values. That's what Superman is. Like, well, you can't make a good Superman movie. He's too powerful. It's quite simple because it works in the comic books. If it works in the comic books, it can work on screen. It's just people want to adapt him to like their vision. I think that's the problem. I think that I mean like was Man of Steel. I thought it was digestible for me. I don't think it was like the perfect suit. I liked it. I didn't think it was perfect. But then I saw Dawn of Justice. I'm like, this is just dog shit. It's like
agreed. And like appearance wise, Henry Cavill really sold it to me as Superman. When I first watched him save the ship, and he came out and he was just like fucking rock hard, chisel as shit, and I'm like, damn, that's Superman for sure. Way over Brandon Roth. Yeah. Even though I liked that character of Superman was fine. But you can find flaws in all of the stories of these characters. But for me, the biggest thing for me is that my Superman, the guy I knew, would never have chosen to smash through those buildings. Or he would have taken that fight to the hillside, to the mountains, or just straight up into the stratosphere.
Right.
And I get that it was the first time he ever encountered anything that was at his level. I get that.
Right.
That's fine. The first building that he was punched through by Zod, then once he got up and saw what had happened and the people running in fear, he should have known to get the hell out of there at that moment. Instead, he got mad and decided to grab Zod and smash him through subsequently like 3 other buildings. And like that's insane. On like a 20-story foot tall building, like that's nuts. Yeah. People are dead. Yeah. He just killed a bunch of people.
Well, you see, my perspective on that movie was I had many gripes with it too, especially with Jonathan Kent dying, how that happened. Yeah, that was some dumb stuff. But my perspective on that movie was, I had mentioned earlier, it's like Superman is a god tier being, and him inside the cinematic universe just doesn't work because of just what his power scale and scope is. If we go back to like very, very early on classic Superman, jumping higher than a building and stuff, okay, that's more realistic for what we can do.
Yeah.
But as far as like the Superman of modern day or golden age or whatever, we can't do that. So going into that movie, it's like that's the Superman from the comics that I grew up with. That's not what I'm going to see in this movie at all. So I had no expectations of that going into the movie. And so I knew it would be a different type of Superman story. So I didn't really have an issue with him like busting through buildings and stuff like that. Not saying that that's true to the character. I just knew that I would get that type of Superman in this movie going forward. So that's why I didn't have an issue with it. Man, that's pretty much it.
I think in the future, I think this is it, make or break. I think this is it. I think if they do not make, I'd say let's say if they have a slate of I don't know, they have a slate of 10 stuff, but they have a slate of like let's say 3 movies or 5 movies. Let's say if Superman, Batman do not make around $1 billion or close to that, I would say, or a good return on their investment, studio wise. Or at least like 3 of those movies aren't working or financially up to that par level of where they want it to be, or maybe they do make a lot of money, but it's not getting the talk they want or something like that. Yeah, I mean,
last Batman movie with all the flaws that
that's not what he's saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying if it doesn't get good talk and if it doesn't make a certain financial mark, I think they're just going to scrap the DC universe altogether, and because they can't financially keep pouring money in these films and then just not returning on investment. I mean, like Black Adam was I like Black Adam. Was all right. I didn't say it was perfect or anything. It had its
I thought it
flaws.
was fun.
Yeah, I
I
thought it
saw
was.
it. I liked it a lot, actually. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
there was a couple of moments that, like, when I first saw it, I'm like, sweet. They got this character right when, like, we all know what happened. I mean, he
yeah,
melted that guy. It was awesome. The way he ripped the bad guy in half at the end of the movie, so sick. Like, that felt like a DC animated universe moment to me when I watched it, because
yeah,
they understand the veracity of what is this character.
right.
And I mean, I had to do a little bit of research myself. I didn't realize how true to form anti anti-hero Black Adam is. I really always thought he was a true bad guy
Yeah,
through and through. They did this a while back that they tried to make him a decent guy, and he's always been kind of there. His story's been changed, so I thought it was fun that they even gave him the updated story where it wasn't the old Roman gods like Zeus and Mercury and all the things that Shazam is based off of.
yeah,
It's the Egyptian gods,
yeah.
because there was a new update for Black Adam. They did that in the comics. So there's a couple of things that they did well in the movie, but man, it's just, it sucks because Dwayne did such a good job, I
Right.
thought. But then there's just a couple of times where, like, look at it this way: certain characters didn't feel like they brought up enough of the rest of the movie. Like, the side characters weren't as strong as they needed to be.
Yeah,
they weren't.
Characters are very weak.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. They weren't as likable as they needed to be. Like, look, I'm not trying to say that Dwayne Johnson had to carry the whole fucking movie on his back, and pretty much did,
Right.
because he was the guy. But then that was the problem, is, like, instead of making him more the focus, more the guy, you brought in too many of these outside guys that you wanted to kind of bring a little light onto, but they were poorly written and they didn't give enough to the characters and they didn't make me love them.
Right.
They barely interacted, and that
Right.
was just the weirdest part. It's just like they were just there.
It was a weird disservice, and then they, like, tried to set up the bigger world with a Waller and, like,
Yeah.
Argus and all that
Yeah.
other stuff, and I'm like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, this is crazy, and it just didn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I watched the movie and then it's like they're trying to like talk to Black Adam and like, it was like too long of that. Like we gotta stop him. We gotta stop. Like, all right, when are you gonna stop or switch gears here? It was just like too like kind of lengthy. And, like they were just like trying to stop him and then they kind of wrapped everything up really quick at the end. And I like they put so much marketing in that film and I could not believe and it had no competition either during that time of year. And I'm like, how did that film not make any money? I mean, it was the better entries I thought, and I'm like, really, it made a loss.
Yeah, it was sad to see that. And look, that's the thing that sucked. Like, when it opened up, when it dropped, it should have been a good marketing point for it too, because it was like 2-3 weeks out before Black Panther. But then that's what it was. Is people were like, oh, I'll just wait another 3 weeks and go see Black Panther, and they weren't like super excited. Whereas Black Adam was the bigger event, and in my opinion, one of the better movies. I'm not trying to say Black Panther was worse or better than Black Adam, but for me, I liked Black Adam more because of the story they were telling. But then the problem, like you were saying, it felt weird, it felt long, it felt detached from itself. It's because they tried to pack 25 years of comic book lore into one movie, and they're like, let's make this bad guy good. Can we make Dwayne Johnson the hero? No. For me, when I heard he got that role, I was pumped, and I tweeted it out that, hey, never forget Dwayne Johnson's everybody's hero, but I was like, never forget when he was in a I Quit match with Mick Foley. You'll watch him almost take another man's life in the wrestling ring, and it's one of the most brutal acts of violence I've ever witnessed. I was so pumped for Dwayne Johnson because check it out. For Dwayne, for me, my understanding of that man, he's a genius. But for me, he's been treating the movie industry like wrestling for years because he came in as everybody's hero. He was a baby face, just like in wrestling. And then he turned, that's a heel turn, and this Black Adam was his moment to become a villain.
Okay.
And the company shot down the middle, and they're like, you're an anti-hero. And he's like, yeah, I should be a villain.
Yeah.
He should have just been the villain. Everybody would have loved him more. It would have been good for DC. Let that company be the villain company. Let Marvel be the hero company. That's how you make a better company.
Yeah, I mean, like back when they were doing the Snyder stuff with, trying to catch up with like Avengers and stuff, I thought like back then, I thought, well, then just make a villain team up movie. Mm-hmm. Do the opposite of what they're doing. Do something different. Get people excited. Do villain team up, and then you trickle your Justice League. And that's like you do that as a like Avengers, first Avengers 1 level kind of thing. And the fact that they had a The Rock play a prominent role in Black Adam, and for it to not make money, because all of his movies make money,
Oh yeah.
and that one didn't, and it was just kind of like, wow, you know.
And it sucks because that's a passion project that he's wanted to do for like 10 plus years, just the same as Ryan Reynolds with Deadpool. Like,
Yeah.
those two people have been campaigning for those characters for a long time. So he knew what he wanted. So I wondered how involved that he got to be with script, with that supervision. Or was he just an actor? I don't know if he was an executive producer. I have to do my own research.
Right.
But like with other properties they got moving forward, with the whole list that you read to us earlier, just because I'm a big fan of his, and most people don't know his stories. And he was originated in the 90s,
Yeah.
our era, Booster Gold.
Yeah.
One of the,
That could be
look at
good.
it this way. Look, I'll give you his coin line because nobody knows it yet. He's the greatest hero you've never heard of.
Yeah.
That will be everybody else's favorite thing to say in the next few years because he is a champion character.
Yeah.
If they do him right, everyone's going to love him. You got to do it right. And that's what I'm hopeful for that. Because again, like I said earlier, James Gunn is bringing different tones to these characters that before, Snyder or even Christopher Nolan or any of those guys, they made good Batman movies. They made good other movies, including Man of Steel or whatever. I don't know who was on that. But they just kept going dark because Tim Burton made Batman Dark in '92 and made so much money and subverted a character from being a goofball in comics and in the 1960s when he was Adam West. He took that genre and subverted it into something dark and meaningful.
Yeah.
And and that's what made Batman for so long.
Right.
And that's fine. But what's funny is James Gunn's finally going back the other way, and he's making him the brave and the bold Batman.
Yeah.
If you look over comics, if you look over different things and like different writers' iterations of the hero, there's a moment where Batman talks about his different incarnations of himself, and one of the ones that he reveres the most and wishes that he could be all the time is the Batman from the Brave and the Bold series, because that's the best version of Bruce. That's the hero. That's the one that laughs at danger and makes kids feel safe, rather than being this monster of the night, this dark form that is the vengeance of justice.
Yeah.
Fuck, man, that's cool. That's edgy. I get it. But, man, he's a superhero.
Yeah.
No one should be afraid of a superhero. I feel so bad for Batman.
Yeah.
So I love Nightwing so much.
I get what you're saying. I mean, like, the way I see it is, like, sure, he's going to make all these movies. He has to make a good Superman movie first.
You do that by following Max Landis's his humanizing version, American Alien hype. Shout out. Go read that comic. It's the fucking best. But if you do that with a Superman movie going forward, you can have a really good Superman movie. But you have to make Superman. Look, he's the strong. You guys said it earlier. How do you make a thing where he's so strong, this and that? You have to make him outthink his enemies.
Yeah.
That's how you make a good Superman movie. He has to outthink them. He has to outwit them. He has to do something more than just being strong. Yeah, you can make that a part of the movie, or he moves this thing because he can, or whatever. But you have to make him the higher intelligence, or make him again make the decision that I don't kill this person.
Right.
Even though they are this enormous, hugely detrimental person to the society. Or look at it this way: if there was a villain that did the same thing that Joe Chill did to Martha and John Kent, or later on in Superman's life, do you think he would be able to truly not do it? Like, that's what the Injustice games were about. When Joker shoots Lois, he snapped, man. He lost his loved ones. He snapped just like Bruce did.
Yeah.
Just like anyone would. And so it's crazy that, like, you have to make sure that you give him this sensibility to be smarter, because, like, if you make these villains that way, then if they don't snap, that's the wrong choice for the character.
Right. I think I think I go by what you just said. James Gunn has experience. He's somebody that has enough wins in his pocket where you would want to be in this position. He's a good filmmaker. I watched Peacemaker, really good. Really great show. I like the second Suicide Squad. Better improvement.
Presented by James Gunn.
Yeah, so
it's literally in the title of Suicide Squad.
The movies are shot very well. I'm not really a fan of like the comedy style in it because I feel like it's too much of a Marvel type thing. I feel like they should do their own. That's just my own personal opinion. A lot of other people like it. So.
Yeah, so
I do like it, and I know why you like it. It's because it's new and it's different. But I also am on the same boat with you. But I'm on the same boat with you in the sense that they need to be able to do each project individually and let the tones be different.
Right.
So if you want Peacemaker to be fun, that's great.
Yeah.
You want Batman to be dark, that's smart.
Right.
If you want Wonder Woman to be heroic and light, guess what? That's really smart too. They did that in the first movie, and everybody loved it. They
Right.
tried to do it in the second movie, and they made it a joke.
Right.
And that was the problem.
I think they a really good template to go off of, and just what was really great. It was when we were going to the animated series. You know, Batman the animated series was very different than Superman the animated series. They're pretty much like night and day shows. You know, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
And just go off that template. Like, okay, so we introduced Batman's universe and then Superman's cast of characters, and then that leaked on to the Justice League. You got a better sense of Flash and Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, and then later on you got Green Arrow and Supergirl, and you know it grew. Like you don't think about it, like you know they had movies and specials between as the shows were going on, but you know that grew from like what you call like a plant to a garden. You know, like
yeah, it was organic growth, like you were saying. Like look at it this way: you have to take your top three characters, your Batmans, your Supermans, your Wonder Womans, and give this to us in a very fun, digestible way that we will want to keep coming back. And then you give us the other stuff, and like you said with Justice League or Justice League Unlimited, you got characters like Etrigan or The Question that had full character arcs, had big storylines inside of these things that you're like, I love these characters now. And there are these DC characters, these CD listers that I was talking about earlier that you would never know, but because it felt organic and it didn't feel rushed, you wanted to know more of their story rather than being like, oh, that was just, now Wonder Woman's at the end of this movie when they're fighting Doomsday Darkseid, and you're like, why is she here? You know, because it was stuffed in there because the public forced that.
Right. All right, final thoughts. Optimistic about the DC universe?
I mean, yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm interested in see what they have or what's going to be happening going forward with their films.
Right.
So I'm just like, I'm kind of tired of resets. Like, it got attached to this last round of actors and stuff like that. And so maybe that's where my stance on this is coming from. But I mean, yeah, cautiously optimistic. You know, I think Matt made a lot of good points. If they do things along those lines, if they give each character their own arc and story, have them in their own universe, and then you can join them later and make things naturally and organic, I think, it'll do very well.
Okay.
So that's all my thoughts on that.
Yeah, no, I'm super excited for it as well because they have a chance to tell these newer stories, and also they are coming in under the radar a little bit because most people are I don't like DC, I don't like it, that's not the superheroes for me, I like Marvel, because the marketing's not there.
Yeah.
So if James Gunn can change those optics and reshift, it would be really funny in the next, again, 5 to 10 years to see how many big DC fans are out there now, which is fine. Look at it this way. Mainstream, I want you to love what I love. I'm trying to get you out of here. Be a nerd with me, man. I'm glad I'm not getting swirlies anymore. But what I will say is I'm highly optimistic for Warner Brothers moving forward. Hell, I hope to be working on this in the next 5 to 10 years. I want to be there, making these stories, making them better, and being able to write my love letters, man. Like, we're all fans. We know what we want for these characters. And if I want to tell my own story, I'll write my own story. But if I want to tell somebody else's story that's really good, like The Long Halloween, I'll tell that story so true to form that all the other percentages that have never even heard of that comic, seen that comic, or been a part of that medium will see that movie and be like, holy shit, I'm changed for life. Just like I was when I first read that comic.
Yeah. I'm optimistic because, like you said earlier, a guy who has credentials and success in the past has had an opportunity. However, this is it. If this is not going to work out, this is going to be the Achilles heel, and then that'll be it. That'll be the end of DC, and that'll be the end of them making movies. And then we can't even also rule out the fact superhero fatigue is going to not affect comic book nerds, but the general audience. And the general audiences make or break every franchise, whether it's fantasy, sci-fi, superheroes, romance comedies. It's they're the judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
one thing I want to say is just don't give me Marvel Cinematic Universe DC. Don't give me that. I want it to be its own thing. Marvel was its own thing. It was good and great for what it did, because honestly it was. They were phenomenal with the universe that they built. We're so like, give me DC doing its own stuff. Don't copy them or try. We already tried that and it didn't work out. Let's not try to start over from the beginning. Like, but we can still do it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Jero, Matt, good stuff. I thank you for coming on the show and giving us your insights on the show. Everybody, make sure to like, comment, subscribe to the Talking Toys podcast channel. It is on YouTube, and also check out my other channel, Off the Road Eats, where I review food places and kind of just give you a flavor of each town that's in there. Also, check out our shorts on the Talking Toys podcast channel. We'll also be on Rumble, I think, pretty soon. Give you guys another outlet to watch our content, but hear us out as well. Feel free to, listeners and viewers out there, feel free to give us your take on it. And also, just to close it out here, I'm Brock Lauer.
I'm Gerald Sellers.
And I'm Matthew Barnhart.
And folks, never stop being a fan. Good night.